Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest, most exciting, and frankly, most confusing stories of our time, the AI revolution. It's a story packed with incredible promise, some staggering hidden costs, and a really fundamental question about what it all means for your future.
So, on one side of the coin, you have this absolutely incredible economic promise. Goldman Sachs thinks that generative AI could boost global GDP by 7%. Now, that might not sound like a huge number, but on a global scale, we're talking about trillions of dollars in new value. That's the kind of growth that can completely reshape economies.
But, and this is the really big but, that same research drops another number that's, well, a lot more intimidating. The idea that AI could automate tasks that are currently being done by 300 million full-time workers. That is a massive, massive chunk of the global workforce. And right there, that's the paradox we're all living in. Is AI this amazing engine for progress that's going to make us all wealthier? Or is it a tidal wave that's about to crash over the job market? What is the real story here? Okay, let's get into it. So let's start with the good stuff, the upside. And let's look beyond just the big economic numbers for a second. We're talking about AI as a tool that can basically supercharge human ingenuity itself, especially in areas like science and medicine, where the stakes are just about as high as they can get. And listen, this isn't some far-off hypothetical stuff. This is happening right now. Scientists are using AI to design brand new life-saving drugs with incredible precision to make gene-editing therapies like CRISPR safer and even to simulate 500 million years of evolution to create totally new proteins from scratch. It's like we've hit the fast-forward button on science itself. And if you need any more proof that this is a true revolution, just look at the Nobel Prize. I mean, in 2024, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry actually went to researchers for their work on, you guessed it, AI-designed proteins. That's pretty much the highest honor in science, and it's a huge validation that AI is already a core tool for discovery.
So all this incredible scientific progress, it translates directly into economic value. A report from PwC found that workers who have AI skills are now commanding a really significant wage premium. The market is basically screaming about where the value is being created, and it's a huge incentive for all of us to upskill.
So the whole optimistic take on this really boils down to this one simple idea, captured perfectly in this quote. The thought is that AI isn't here to replace us, it's here to augment us. It's a co-pilot, a tool that just makes experts even better at what they do. But of course, that's only half of the story.
Okay, now we have to flip the coin over, because all of this incredible computational power, well, it comes at a price, a really steep and often pretty hidden price.
Let's just start with water. One study estimated that in the year 2025, just training and running AI systems could consume a mind-boggling 765 billion liters of water. And to give you some perspective on just how much that really is,
Yeah, that's more than all the bottled water consumed on the entire planet. See, all that computing generates an insane amount of heat, and data centers use massive quantities of fresh water just to cool everything down. It's this invisible environmental cost that's hiding behind every single query you send to an AI. And then you've got the carbon footprint. Projections for 2025 pegged AI's emissions at about 80 million tons of CO2. That's basically like adding another New York City to the planet. And to put that into context, that's already over 8% of the entire global aviation industry's footprint. This environmental price tag brings us right back to the human one, and that huge paradox in the job market. You've got the World Economic Forum on one side forecasting 170 million new jobs by 2030 because of AI. But then on the other side, you have estimates that up to 300 million jobs globally are at risk of automation. So which is it? Well, it's both. It's creation and displacement happening at the exact same time. All right, so you've got this massive promise and this very real price. What does any of this actually mean for you? How do you navigate this new world and build a career that's actually going to last?
well, the key is really understanding the dividing line between what AI does well and, what it's still pretty terrible at. On one side, if your job is mostly routine, predictable, rules-based tasks, that's a high-risk zone. But jobs that need complex human empathy, conflict resolution, building trust, making strategic calls when things are ambiguous, that's our turf. Those are the uniquely human skills, and that's what makes a role future-proof.
And you can see this translating into specific careers. We're talking about strategic HR leaders who manage company culture and talent, complex B2B sales directors who build deep, trust-based relationships that a machine just can't, healthcare pros like therapists and nurses who provide empathetic care, and then there's this whole new class of jobs popping up like AI orchestrators and tech ethicists, people whose whole job is to manage these powerful new systems.
And that really points to where this tech is going next. Removing beyond AI as just a helpful co-pilot that answers our questions, the next wave is something called agentic AI. These are systems that can take independent action to achieve a goal. They can complete complex, multi-step tasks all by themselves.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, imagine a workflow where you don't just ask an AI to write a report. Instead, a planning agent takes your goal and breaks it down. Then a research agent goes out and autonomously gathers all the data it needs. And finally, a reporting agent puts it all together into a final summary. The human role totally shifts. You stop being the one doing the work and become the one supervising the agents who do the work.
All of this leads us to the biggest question of them all, the one that's on everyone's mind. What's the end game? I mean, how far can this technology really go? And how fast are we going to get there?
You know, the conversation around the ultimate goal, artificial general intelligence, or AGI, an AI that can reason like a human, it's been a total roller coaster. In early 2025, predictions were flying around for AGI by 2027. But then, by the middle of the year, as the real-world limitations became clearer, that optimism cooled way down, and forecasts got pushed back to 2033 or even later. It was a classic case of hype meeting reality. But this reveals the real story, I think. While all the experts were busy debating the arrival of some hypothetical superintelligence, the actually useful progress was happening somewhere else. The practical tools, the coding assistants, the workflow automations, all these incremental improvements were compounding and quietly transforming our jobs right under our noses.
And that leaves us with this final, powerful idea. The debate about whether AGI has 5 years away or 15 years away kind of misses the point. The pace of change itself has fundamentally sped up. As one person put it so well, there are no long timelines anymore. There are just short and very short now. And that leaves every single one of us with one final question to ponder. Whatever the timeline is, are we actually preparing for it quickly enough?